Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 173rd episode of Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing.
This episode is brought to you by Katie Harbin. I'm Matt Enlow.
And I'm Oren Kaplan, and today we have a writing-directing duo on. They are Andrew Reimer and Jeff Chan, and they have a movie that is out on VOD just now. It just ended its theatrical run, and it is called Plus One. It stars Maya Erskine from Pen 15 and Jack Quaid, son of Dennis Quaid, which is pretty cool.
Unfortunately, not Randy.
But we had like a really awesome conversation with them. They're just two guys. They met in high school. What I like about the conversation is, yes, they direct together. Yes, they write together, but they've also separated a lot. They're not like, it's not like some duos where they just make you so jealous of their relationship, you know?
Yeah, they are in tune together for sure, but they're not like a weird twin speak symbiote sort of situation.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I learned a lot from them, and just the path that they traveled to get their movie financed and made is really interesting.
Yeah, spoiler alert, guys. It takes a long time to make a movie. And so we go into all of the ups and downs of casting and things falling through and finding financing and all of that stuff. It's kind of, really illustrates what it takes to make one of these things.
Yeah. Second spoiler alert, the way they finally got their movie financed is by just shooting some stuff.
Yeah.
On their own and showing it to people. Lesson learned.
Done and done.
Before we talk to Reimer and Chan, we actually got a listener question that Matt and I really enjoyed, and we thought we'd talk about it real quick because it is, we believe, a rather common question.
We're kind of dealing with this sort of question ourselves pretty regularly. So
yeah. So it concerns pitching shows and movies and creative work. So our listener says, I'm chatting and pitching some ideas to a producer, and at this point they're just ideas. I don't have a completed script to share, but I do have pages of notes, etc. But if I were to send over a one-pager, as I've heard you mention on the podcast, what does that exactly mean? Is it a Word document? Is there any normal format to these short treatments? Thanks.
I was so excited to get this question because literally I've been cranking these documents out pretty steadily for the last 2 weeks, I want to say.
And you call them one-pagers, right?
I call them two-pagers, but...
Oh, you do?
I do, but it doesn't matter. That is you can also call them a leave-behind, It's basically just a digestible document that is a concise version of explaining your idea to people. And the thing that's, I think, essential to think about with these in a practical sense is that you're going to pitch someone, you're going to talk to this producer or someone, an agent or a manager, anybody. They're going to have to relay your idea a couple more times.
Right, and so you have to pitch them the pitch.
You have to pitch them the pitch. And also, this document is the thing that they're going to be forwarding around to give everyone else on their team context for what this idea is. And so, if you give them the awesome version of this pitch, then you are making their job easier, and therefore they have an easier time selling it to their team members, because those team members don't have the benefit of sitting down with you and being charmed by you and you explaining any questions that they may have. All they've got is the person that you met with and whatever they can forward you. So that's what a leave behind one-pager, two-pager script meant, which is maybe a slightly different thing than this. Oren, you kind of responded to this listener. What did you say?
Well, what I said is actually something, I'm trying to find the tweet right now, but I think it's Seth Worley tweeted it, which he had retweeted somebody else, but they had said something kind of interesting about how a pitch should work, and it should be exactly the same way you would tell someone a story. You just kind of give them kind of the first sentence of what your story's about, and if you see that they're interested, you keep going and you keep revealing more and more things. But the worst thing you can do is start off with like, okay, so there's 6 characters. There's Mike, there's Donna, there's Jenny, So to me, that the way you structure your document is the same. You start out with the broadest things and you go in more detail. So I had responded to our listener by saying that I normally have some sort of format like this, but it changes based on the project, of course. So I start with the title, the name of the show. I usually include a subheading that gives the genre and the format. Like, for instance, like it's a, thrilling rom-com, an episodic thrilling rom-com or whatever. Then I'll put a log line where it's like, people say one sentence, but usually I like 3 sentences.
we disagree here very strongly. A log line's a sentence.
A line?
Yeah, it's a line.
Yeah, but I feel like sometimes you're
conflating a log line and a premise, I think.
Yeah, I guess I don't want my log line to say like, when so-and-so finds out that this and this, then this thing and antics ensue. And so I try to, sometimes I use the period to add impact. And
no one is ever going to be like, oh boy, this person doesn't know what they're doing. 3 sentences.
Right. Not long sentences. Not like a paragraph.
Though they may be like, oh boy, 1 run-on sentence. That is a little bit of a red flag. So it doesn't really matter. The point is like a very, very concise version.
The shortest possible version you can tell, but, and I'll get to this in a second, what I'm going to say about tone applies to the log line also. So after the log line, I try to give the story, right? Which could be, if it's a movie, I would at least want to touch on all 3 acts and some developments in the middle and like why people are excited about this. And then I will describe the tone and style, and sometimes I'll compare it to other things. Sometimes I won't. Just kind of depends on if I feel like the audience likes that or not. Like the audience meaning the person I'm sending this to. But I think that whatever the tone is that I'm describing here should be evident from the writing, should be evident.
Without a doubt.
If it's a comedy, the log line should be funny, right?
Yeah.
If it's a thriller, the log line should be mysterious and tense. And then something I've been doing lately, which everyone does in like an in-person pitch, is I've been kind of talking about the inspiration or where the idea came from. Or maybe it's based on a script or a story or a person I know. Really short, like 1 or 2 sentences on that. And then if it's a TV show or anything episodic, I'd probably talk about the characters after that and the seasons. So that's pretty much like what my document would cover. And again, as little as possible, but kind of setting every sentence up with the idea that there's stuff underneath. As
economical as possible is really the takeaway there, because it does need to be a quick, fast little thing. So my formula is basically...
Wait, I'm just going to add one thing. Sorry for interrupting. And then I try telling people what is in my document out loud and see if I can make it all the way to the end without boring them. And I'm a really big pitch practicer. And every time I meet with my writing partner, I'm like, Julie, so did you pitch the show to anyone? And she's like, nope. And I'm like, okay, well, I pitched it to 7 people. This is what they said. This is what this person said. This is like this.
Yeah.
And
then she says, what did Matt say, though?
Yeah, just kind of something like that.
And also, it's important to say, you can do this however you want. You can keep it consistent for every time you ever make this document. You can change it up every single time. There's no formula for this at all. It's really just like, how can you best concisely and economically get your idea across in a quick document for people to pass around. So my philosophy for these documents is that I try to think of them as a storytelling document as well, right? So I'm trying to give out information with the similar sort of like headings and things like that you're describing. Sometimes I'll go ahead and say characters, the world, all of that stuff. But I'm trying to draw the reader down the document through the story as I'm introducing these elements, right? So typically...
Do you ever change the headlines? Because
yes.
Like I don't call it the world. I'll say like, the reason it's so interesting, or Arkansas, whatever, because I'm trying to not say the same thing people have seen before.
Or even cleaner, it would be like, if you were trying to lead into the environment that you're talking about, maybe you would end the previous paragraph with an ellipses. And it all takes place and then in bold,
right?
Strange Town, USA,
right?
It's a world where X, Y, and Z.
The highest selling supercuts in St. Louis.
In St. Louis, yeah. And then that you would put in bold and kind of break out. I like to play with formatting a lot with this. But so the big differences between what you and I do, I think, is I put my characters way higher, but I'm also, the important thing about characters, it's not really super important that you know much beyond like quick archetypes, but what is important is like what they want and what's keeping them from getting what they want, right? Like what their arc is and how they relate to
for a movie, you would also do this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, story and theme. Because I'm trying to bury story points in these character descriptions, right? So in a movie, typically, right, or in a TV show, you get a basic understanding of your setting and circumstances, and then you meet your main character, and then your main character teaches you a few more things about the world and the circumstances of the problem. And then maybe you meet the villain right after that, right? So I'm trying to kind of add that philosophy into this document, so you're getting character and story as you read down. And that's why I was excited about it. It's a thing that I swear by. It makes it a lot more fun for everybody.
See, it's funny because I 100% agree with what you just said, but because I agree with that is why I don't lead with a list of characters.
No, not lead. I just put it higher. So my order goes title, premise, right? Sometimes I'll throw a tag in there, and sometimes I'll do like a little bit of like a joke or like a tease of some sort, like a question, like, what if the podcast that you've been listening to for 172 episodes ended?
Right. Catastrophe,
right?
That's the premise for catastrophe.
Exactly. I kind of like play with it a little bit. There's a little bit of marketing. Sometimes I'll throw that stuff in italics if I want to get real fancy. So the premise will kind of like set up the story in the movie and the tone a little bit, and then I'll close with a log line, right? So imagine a world where this, and this happens.
After the premise,
and then I would say podcast catastrophe. A hilarious film about two podcasters. And then I would go into meet Oren. He's terrible, but good thing he's got his best friend Matt. Cut to Matt, and that's how I would like dole out the story basically. And then I would go into world. If I have episode ideas or season arcs, I would do that. Then I go themes, visual style, production style sometimes if I want to talk about the ways in which we're making the show. And then I would throw my closer and personal tidbits there. So I'd be like, it's just so happens that I happen to have a podcast, and it's, really been a great part of my life, blah, 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 blah. I can't wait to bring this to the screen with you. Bada bing, bada boom.
Is that the same way you would format it in person? Or you would order it in person?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. And I think that also a thing that I've gotten a note from in terms of pitching is like making sure that I am adding enough context to the circumstances of the story up top. I think oftentimes I give you the note of like, just tell me what the show's about. And you're like, wait, no. It's 2019. We're in a living room in Silver Lake.
Yeah, dining room, but
yeah, sure. Dining room, pardon me. And I'm like, no, tell me about the podcast part. And I think that recently I've been getting the note of like, well, you can't assume that everybody knows what a podcast is in this scenario,
Yeah. Well,
I'm pitching things that are worlds that are less familiar than podcasting.
Right.
But if I was doing a show about podcasting, I would maybe have to say like, in 2019, there's 750,000 podcasts, and, only 2 of them are good.
Right. Well, that is what's so hard about pitching sci-fi is if you can't pitch your world in 2 sentences, the show becomes really complicated. And that's a show that I pitched a couple of years ago. The like setup for the world is like already leads to so many questions that I think sometimes people aren't on the journey.
They get stuck
because
in
they're like, wait, but why 10,000 people?
Well,
whatever, like.
And it's funny. I pitched a soft sci-fi concept and just got notes from my manager today, and he was like, he loved it, but he was like, you need to explain this a little bit more clearly. And it was, again, the exact same thing of like trying to just get into the story and why we care about these characters dealing with this circumstance. But that's why I think if you can get the rules clear concisely up top, I think you can dole out more plot than you realize in those character descriptions.
Yeah. I guess I think everyone knows characters are the most important part of a show, like an episodic show especially. But there's nothing that puts me to sleep faster than like a list of character names, unless the characters are insane.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's the opposite of what you need. Like all of that stuff that you're describing of like, I need to know their age, ethnicity, if it's pertinent, and what they want relative to these other characters.
Right. So, but isn't it do you have a section called characters, or you're just introducing them as the story goes along?
Introducing them as the story goes along.
Yeah. So I guess I would do the same. I would just like, when I say characters at the end, it's like, if it's a TV show, it would be like, here are it's like almost the same as the seasons. It's the characters is like the season arc, because it's like, you know, here's Matt, and we're going to follow him from being like a pretty successful college humor director to a struggling podcaster over the course of the season, you know. But
and then in Act 1. But so I think maybe what I'm saying is that by the time you're done with the premise, logline, and characters, you know most of the pilot. Right. And so then when you get into episodes, we understand all of those relationships well enough to know how the hijinks will ensue. And so I can just do log lines of other episode ideas.
Right. Well, so the other thing I've been doing lately, and it's really based on how I write my treatments, I used to do all my commercial treatments exactly the same. I'd start with like an intro. I try to tell a personal story, why I connect to the material in some way, and then I would go into the concept, and I'd go into whatever, like performance. But my new thing, and I will apply it to also like narrative stuff, is what is the most interesting part of this thing? Like, what is the hook? Just say the hook. If the hook is how we shoot it, we're shooting it on reverse, then let's start with that. If the hook is we got this cast attached, if the hook is this is based on this award-winning novel, let's start with this. And like, this is why I'm super pumped about this. And it might be a character. It might be like, this is about my grandpa and he did this thing. It might be this world. This world is so freaking insane. Look at this and this and this. And so that's why I don't think there's like a one size fits all answer for me, at least.
Certainly.
And it's because just pitch it in the most exciting way and stop pitching when it's not exciting anymore.
That's fair enough. You know, I have one follow-up question for you, actually, because I think maybe the thing that we disagree about the most, because I think we agree on 99% of it, is the personal anecdote. And I wonder if maybe, I think you lead in person with a personal anecdote, because you don't, when you go in to pitch with someone or meet with any human being, you know, you say hello, you ask how their weekend was, there's a little bit of chit chat, and then that can segue into the personal story of like, oh, it just so happens that I do have a podcast. And that's actually why I really wanted to make the show with you guys, and then go into the pitch about the podcast show. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas in a document, if you don't know, you don't have that segue.
Well, you know where I would put that personal anecdote?
At the end.
No, in the email.
Oh, that's good.
I'd say, hey, this is, especially if it's coming from a rep.
But remember, those.
Hey, this is Matt Enlow. He has a podcast and he has a show about podcasters.
Yeah, that's true.
Based on his own experiences.
However, you have to remember that email will that thread will die at that first person, and the document is meant to be able to be passed along.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
infinitely.
Like the dream scenario is that someone reads it and is like, oh, this is awesome, I'm going to forward it. Hey, this is from a guy that has a podcast, and it's based on his podcast.
I mean, that's true. I think that there is a lot of wisdom in, if you can feed them what they should say to the people they're passing it along to in that email, that's very smart. If it's like, oh my God, these guys are actual podcasters and this is the best script I've ever read.
Right. So this show that I'm now pitching, Julie and I are pitching.
About the podcast. Sure.
Yeah. No, but this show, it's a repitch of an older show of ours, and was kind of placed in the slam dance competition. And in the original draft, we didn't mention that at all. And then when we resent it, I added, by the way, this is based on this the script we wrote that won the slam dance writing competition. So I feel like it already validated it
without a doubt.
And putting that early on so that people are like, okay, well, I'm not quite sure I understand this, but I'll keep going because clearly there's something here. So
I think you've illuminated a really smart point, though, that there's the body of the email and then there's the document. And I think that, I think you're exactly right. I think leading with it in the email, because there are two separate things. The email is the chit chat. That's the small talk before you get into the pitch.
Right. And then one other thing to answer our listener's question was about the document, the literal computer format, file format. And if I'm sending it to the last person that is going to read it, like the person I'm presenting it to, I always send a PDF. If I'm sending it to like a production company or anyone that is might potentially edit it before they pass it on, I send a PDF and a Word document.
Yeah.
Or
that's great.
InDesign or Pages or whatever.
And you can throw some graphics in there and things like that if you want, but like it's not meant to be as flashy document-wise as things further down the line are going to be. You know?
I think, obviously as like a director, I almost sometimes feel like I can present a tone or style a little better with like a picture or something. So I try to put one in if I think it is very relevant.
If you've got a grand slam image, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
But I wouldn't put like, here's 20 inspirational images or anything.
Yeah. I would say if you're doing more than one image a page, you really, really need to think about it.
Yeah. Oh, and I've seen like one-pagers and stuff where like they'll have a cover page and it'll be like a real cheesy picture or like just, I hate the font or like if it looks amateur in any way whatsoever, it's like such a giant turnoff to me that like I'd be so much happier if it was just like
clean, a clean, legible font.
Even Times New Roman is great.
Yeah, totally. Honestly, like if you're thinking about the font, stop. Though sometimes, I will do the title
in Comic Sans
in a fun font. Like I did like if it's a comic book thing, you can use the comic book font as long as it's totally legible. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Before we hop into our conversation with Jeff and Reimer, here's a little word from our sponsor. So today we've got Zach Lipovsky, the creator of ShotLister, which is an app that helps you manage and create shot lists on the fly as you're shooting. Zach, I'd love to know, how do you use ShotLister to collaborate better with your crew?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that ShotLister does really great is we have something called Crew Sync, which basically allows you to share your shot list with everybody. And if you're feeling brave, it allows them to actually see exactly how you're doing. So, ShotLister tells you right now you're about an hour behind, or you're 3 hours behind, or you're 30 minutes ahead.
Sounds like a recurring nightmare.
Yeah. Well, most people's instinct is to never let anyone know how they're doing. But it's been my experience, and a lot of other people have said the same thing, that actually when you share that information, even with the producers, usually the producers are breathing down your neck, wanting to see how you're doing. And actually, when you share that information and they see that you know how you're doing and you have a plan, all they want to know is you have a plan. You're an hour behind and you're doing something about it. And so when you have an app that is glowing red when you're an hour behind and you're willing to show it to them and you're saying, but we're going to do this, we're going to move this here, and we're going to get back on schedule, I've found they actually end up leaving you alone and give you a lot more freedom because you're actually being transparent. And a lot of other people have said the same thing. It's a different way of working, and you don't have to work that way, but ShotLister lets you sync it with people even anywhere in the world. Anyone who has an internet connection can see live how you're doing.
So Zach, how does Crew Sync work exactly?
Basically, anyone who has the app just gets an email and they can sync to your project. You invite them just like you would invite them to a Google Doc. And you have to have what we call ShotLister Pro, which is basically our subscription service that comes with a bunch of professional features, but they don't. So anyone who is a crew member just needs to have the app, and they'll be able to subscribe to whatever projects you have.
But Zach, what do I do if my crew doesn't have a copy of ShotLister?
We'll give them one for free. Free, you say? That can't be possible.
Wait, are you serious? You're giving away 3 copies of the app?
Yeah. Basically, we're going to give away 50 free copies every month. So all people have to do is email justshootitpod@shotlister.com. And if we haven't given away 50 that month, we'll send them one, and next month we'll do it again. So forever.
And what do they need to write in the email?
Just let us know what platform you're on. We have ShotLister on Mac OS, iOS, Android. So just let us know which one of those you want, and we'll send it to you.
That's awesome.
That sounds too good to be true.
Well, you have such wonderful listeners. We just want to give back.
Ain't it the truth?
Yeah, the real reason is that we think that once you use it, you're going to love it, and you're going to tell other people about it. So, and that's what we hear from lots of people. They become evangelists. Once they use it, they can't think of any other way of using it, and they tell their DP to get it, and they tell their AD to get it. So we just think, we stand by the product. It's built by filmmakers, and filmmakers love it. So if they get a free copy, they'll tell other people about it, and that's what we want. So
email justshootitpod@shotlister.com right now. Get your free copy.
Jeff Chan, Andrew Reimer, right?
Hi, guys.
Hey, welcome, guys.
Hello.
We got it right?
Do you guys have a team
You
name?
did correct. You did get them both names
A
correct.
team name.
Yes.
We don't have an official one. We get called Reimer and Chan sometimes.
Crimer.
Jeff and Reimer. Crimer.
Crimer.
I heard Crimer before.
Yeah.
Trimer.
Crime or a river?
Chromeo.
No.
Anything
Yeah.
you want.
Chromeo?
Sure.
I like that.
Great.
So what do you guys do?
We are filmmakers.
We write, we direct, we produce. So we're extras sometimes.
Whatever. Semi-effective ADs.
Whatever a project needs.
Yeah.
We'll happily.
Yeah, I was
sign
trying to
up.
remember, Andrew. I think when we first met, were you ADing?
I have
producing?
done literally all of it. I'm very bad at recording sound, but I've done it.
Sure.
I have messed up everybody who has ever asked me to record sound for their project. But I've done it a number of times.
Intentionally. though.
Have you ever DP'd?
failing
Have you
up.
ever done that?
Nobody. No. I think I ruined one of your movies in film school.
Did you shoot something?
It was all out of focus. Remember?
That's right.
I didn't understand the focal plane.
You cost me
on
a couple $1,000.
No, I did not.
Yeah,
it was
I had
one
to
of those
pay
black
to
and white
get
movies.
the film exposed. I had to do all.
Sure.
They did that for free.
Imagine
guys
my
are-
face when I was looking
I
at
DP'd
that
once.
coming
So
out.
you're dating yourselves, guys. So you met in film school then?
We did.
Awesome.
Technically, we met in high school, but
wow.
Whoa.
basically we met in film school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff grew up in Jersey. I grew up in Los Angeles. He had a friend who moved from his town to my town, became my friend, and started telling Jeff about his cool new California friends.
We were talking about his name's
Were you-
TJ. Shout out TJ.
Were you wearing like sunglasses? I'm trying to figure out why he thought
You
were
ever
cool.
watch that show Laguna Beach?
Yeah.
You got it. That's Andrew.
I'm from the OC.
Oh,
so
really? Well,
get it.
I was a Jersey theater nerd. Separate theater and nerd, not just theater nerd, but like theater gamer and board game player. And
Right, but you're a gamer, but you did like Dungeons and Dragons.
That's right. I did it all. And my friend TJ moved to La Cañada, Andrew's town, right before senior year, and he was like, "You gotta visit. You gotta come meet my new friends. They're so cool."
You got to come to La Cañada.
Wait,
the hippest place.
See La Cañada.
Hey, their schools are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
Well,
True.
Look what they
That's true.
made.
Yeah. Hey.
And so I came and visited spring break of my senior year, and I met Reimer and his cohorts. These like wakeboarding, trucker hat wearing OC fanatics.
Ashton Kutcher was very popular at the time.
You loved the OC. Anyway,
Sure, I did.
I was really intimidated because Reimer also he was like stuff of urban legend because he was interning on the movie Cinderella Story. Reimer was the stuff of legend because allegedly Hilary Duff had a crush on Reimer.
What?
Whoa.
Because he was the other guy that was like her age on set,
Whoa.
and he was this cool.
And she didn't know any other children.
well, she didn't know anybody else. Yeah,
She really was not, but it became like the fact that I interned on a set became this conflated into this thing that she had a crush on me, which was not correct.
okay. Sorry, I've gone so far off.
No.
Yeah, you guys started saying you don't like origin stories, and here we
I
are.
know.
That's
No,
okay.
no,
That's
we,
okay.
we don't
So
not like
sorry.
origin stories. We don't like unrelatable, like totally not applicable.
Right.
And,
So
and
anything
anyone
a
can
Dutch
relate.
hat,
Anyone
running
can
around.
relate to Hilary Duff having
Like
a crush
no
on her.
takeaways. No, but
Specifics are good too. But this is the first time I think we've had a director's duo, especially ones that knew each other from childhood. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
well,
that's
okay.
unique.
So here's what happens.
and I do think something that's interesting is that like we have a lot of directors that grew up in LA and they have like a different relationship with the film business than like people that moved here. You know,
True.
Yeah.
when they decided to. So,
Andrew, did your parents work in the industry?
My dad was a screenwriter, so
you
my
go.
dad wrote the Big Mama's House movies.
Sure.
He also wrote the Rio movies.
the animated ones?
Yeah, the animated ones, the animated bird movies.
That's a big deal.
He passed away in like 2012, but yeah, he was a screenwriter for years and years, and that was kind of what I grew up familiar with. And Jeff knew my dad while he was around and all that. But yeah, so anyway, we met making a really bad short film while we were in high school, and then
Oh, it was your bad.
it was
short
my
film,
bad
wasn't
short film. It was
mine.
not Jeff's. I was making, I believe it was a Blair Witch knockoff, and I didn't have anyone to play the ghost, so I made the new kid who came from New Jersey, put on a sheet and walk out into the haunted woods.
No, into an abandoned insane asylum. And I was like, I've seen this movie. The nerdy Asian kid get the cool LA guys put a sheet over his head and say, walk up those stairs.
Right.
But then the trip was great. Reimer told me that he had gotten into NYU for film early decision. I didn't know where I was going to go to college yet, but I go back to Ridgewood, New Jersey, and I'm talking to my other friend, Matt McBrayer, about this. And he's like, how are TJ's new friends? I was like, they're great. There's this guy, Reimer, who thinks he's going to go to, he's going to NYU for film. And he's like, oh, cool. Anyway, 4 months later, both Matt and I had gotten into NYU, regular decisions. And Matt calls me and he's like, dude, I just got my roommate assignment and you're not going to believe who it is. And I was like, who? He's like, that guy, Andrew Reimer. Just total coincidence.
So
like, just
wild.
chance.
So what's interesting to me about that, though, also is like NYU doesn't have a campus, right? So like in terms of like bonding with people and like it's not like everyone gets to hang out on the quad. There's no hacky sack to be played or anything. Do you know what I mean?
There's
so,
hacky sack, but it's just also with anyone from New York who wants to play hacky sack.
Sure,
Yeah.
which is a different experience.
But yes,
you know,
Don't
what I
you
mean?
guys like go to like the same like spoken word concerts and things?
It was
Seems very New York to me.
To what you're saying, I think very quickly basically my roommate was Jeff's high school friend. Jeff's roommate was our friend John Daigle, who to this, all of us are still very close friends. John edited Plus One. Matt McBrayer edits Pen 15. Like all of us still, it's 15 years later and we all from basically
that's why it's
freshman
called
year.
Pen 15.
There you go. All of our friends like met, in the kind of first couple of years of school, and it just kind of stuck. That was like, because it's such a big city and it's so kind of hectic, you kind of cling to the people that you meet or that you know or you get along with, and then that becomes a very intense bond quite quickly, So
Yeah.
in lieu of hacky sack.
Sure.
That's right.
So did you guys graduate NYU and move to LA together?
We did not. No, we made a bunch of bad short films together. And
Were you guys like co-directors at the time?
Mm-mm.
We were not. We had the idea with our senior thesis film to co-direct or co-make 2 films together, and we thought we'll be like the Coen brothers, like one of those brothers duos. And we realized very quickly that we aren't brothers, and that we don't have like the same brain and all that stuff. And so it was certainly a process to find the strengths of where we are and like working together and all that kind of thing.
Were you guys both like comedy people? Was that
Yeah,
what was, you were
for
into?
sure.
Yeah.
Relative to the NYU class, for sure. I would say the larger film school population at school, at least while we were there, was very dramatic focused. There was a lot of like very intense, overindulgent student filmmaking.
Comedy wasn't cool yet. Basically, for real,
Sure.
It's a thing we talk about on the show a little bit because like Sam Reich was in New York around the same time,
Yeah.
so as well, all those guys, and it was just like comedy hadn't kind of come back around as a thing that young people found interesting. Like everybody loves comedy, but like it's not like Waverly Flams or like College Humor or even like Funny or Die and none of that stuff had come around yet. So no one was like getting a TV show or starting a sketch group.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, also, towards the end of college, a very specific type of comedy was coming out, and that was sketch comedy on YouTube. Our friends Brian McElhaney, Nick Kocher started Britannic,
right.
and they were blowing up. But we would never have made sketch comedy or YouTube specific comedy. We were idolized like Judd Apatow. We wanted to make long romantic comedies.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So you guys your kids in New York, you're having a great time. You kind of see eye to eye on things, right? When do you decide? So you move out to LA. You kind of figure that's the thing you need to do. When do you decide to start working together again? Officially, like in a not just like, hey, come crew for me sort of way.
And also, did you? Obviously you're from LA, but when did you move to LA, Jeff?
I moved to LA 3.5 years ago. So
not that long ago.
Not
you
that long
stayed
ago.
in New York.
I stayed in New York. I was so Reimer and I were roommates right out of college, and we had the brilliant idea to be writing partners and roommates at the same time.
Great idea. We highly recommend
Which,
it
if
to
I could
anyone,
give any
creative partnership.
any caution to any of you out there, don't do that.
Wait, what? I honestly don't know why.
Well, everything blurs together. So while I was being a bad roommate and not taking the trash out, I was also turning over revisions to pages, and that can color your reaction to
It's just
things.
too much. There's it took us a while to figure out the level of boundaries and communication and all that kind of stuff, and just piling all of our personal lives. I mean, we're friends, we're creative partners, we're business partners increasingly, and we're also roommates all at that time. It was headed quickly for a combustible, kind of experience.
And combusted did many times. I mean,
yeah.
we got into so many fights.
I don't think by any means did we have a early or immediate success story, if it is that at all, even at this point.
How are you guys making money, like out of film school?
Out of film school, I was PAing on an HBO show called Bored to Death. I was.
Cool.
Man, I love that show.
Dancing?
You were one of the two people who watched it.
So we had.
Did Hillary Duff get you that job?
She did not. She tried, but yeah.
Hook him up. We had Luke Del Tredici, who was a baby writer at the time on that show.
He was awesome. I totally looked up to him.
He also was surprised when I told him that I love that show.
And I
it's top 20 shows, and he was like, "What?"
Yeah, I would like. I was.
I
a PA.
love the cast.
It was my job to pick him up from the subway stop and drive him to the office. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
so
I would
funny.
be really excited on the days where I'd pick him up because I thought he was so cool, and he had no idea who I am or what.
That's so funny.
So anyway, yeah.
You guys should hit him up now.
Sure.
He's show running on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So.
Make him pick you up, Reimer.
Yeah.
Show
Yeah,
him
make
who's
him be
boss
your
now.
plus one.
So Reimer moves out.
Wait, so you're PAing, and what were you doing?
I was working for my first job out of college was for a company called Concert TV. Mm-hmm. They put concerts
on TV.
You got it. I mean, and not only that, they were on demand, so you could pick whichever concert you wanted to watch, and it popped right up for you to watch. And I got an internship because my girlfriend told me to get an internship, so I applied and I got it. And I would transcode these concerts from whatever format, DVD, Betamax, whatever, onto a computer. And I was so stoked about that. I was like, I cannot believe I graduated film school and got a job in the industry right away.
You were an editor. I was so jealous. I was sitting in a porta potty in Brooklyn in February.
Except the Concert TV was run out of an apartment in Union Square, and I sat in the bedroom in the back. And you had to get through the bedroom to get to the bathroom, so people would come through while I was watching Radiohead concerts and with a big smile on my face.
Just waiting for the render to finish, though.
Yeah,
it's not
but
that much
also,
work, right?
Yeah. But I was so stoked. And
That's a good idea for a movie, the transcoder. It's witnesses a
That's
murder.
a long movie. It's just a guy watching a bar try to complete. And eventually got bumped up to editor because one of the editors at the company had a mental breakdown and left. And I came to work one day and the boss said, "Hey, you can edit, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, you've got that guy's job now." And I was like, "Cool." I remember telling you I had just gotten signed an overall deal.
Yeah.
I was so stoked. And then eventually that they ran out of money, and I remember coming to work one day and the heads of the company were like, "I know you guys thought this was a foolproof plan, but it turns out it wasn't. We're out of money. Concert TV is no more." And I was out of a job all of a sudden, but my friend Matt Campbell, who worked at a company that owned Billboard Magazine, The Hollywood Reporter, Backstage Magazine, and Adweek. It was Nielsen at the time, but then they traded it to another company. He hired me to shoot and edit digital videos for them. So it's just concert videos or interview videos. My experience at Concert TV obviously primes me for this. Get that job, do that for.
And so you're on set, or you're DPing and editing and everything.
Yeah.
You're
I wouldn't say
predator.
Yeah, I was more just.
That's a new term, isn't it?
Predator.
Yeah,
It's 10 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've never heard it before. I was a predator. I was shooting and editing.
You're lucky.
But 10 years
not
old
know
is kind of a new term.
Yeah.
It's a modern term.
Yeah, it's just a way to exploit people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did that for 2 years, and then once again there was a corporate restructuring, and I got bumped down. They subdivided each of the predators into separate brands. So no longer were we all shooting the same stuff and editing it together. It was Jeff, Matt, you go run Billboard, Hannon, you go run THR, which were the cool ones, and it was Jeff, you go run Adweek. I was like, what, Adweek? What's that going to be?
Kind of cool. Now, I mean, I think ad week's pretty
now,
cool.
yeah.
Well, if ad week is cool, but what I was doing for ad week was driving to these boutique ad agencies, setting up a camera, filming a creative director, and then editing it and putting it online. And I did hundreds of those and nothing else. It's not like I was going to the sets of commercials.
Yeah, Oren's like, yes.
Well, I mean,
which creative directors?
I am curious, like, if you learned stuff about, like, commercials.
So get ready for the next thing.
Oh,
Because
boy.
it's kind of
Here's the
Slumdog Millionaire, because
Yeah.
each thing links to the next one.
Yeah. But that, I mean, I think this is, like, look, obviously you guys went to NYU and you had a friend, Matt Campbell, that hooks you up. You have Reimer and you have all these people, but it's still like, we've heard so many stories of people getting the editing job because the editor quit, you know?
Yeah.
And they
absolutely.
were there at the time. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is like kind of how it works.
Yeah, totally. And I could never have predicted. What's weird is that when you're first out of film school, as long as you don't have a massive chip on your shoulder, you are excited about getting to do this stuff. And any step forward, that sense of progress is everything. So it's like, okay, Billboard is an advancement from concert TV. That's so cool. And then ad week didn't feel as much like that, but I was like, okay, I'm running the department. That's cool. And then eventually left because I was like, I want to do something else. And right around that time, a guy named Greg Beecham, who was a producer out in Texas, he had just produced a movie called Searching for Sunny, which starred Brian McElhaney and Nick Kocher, was moving out to New York to start a new production company because his wife, Katya Beecham, had started a company called Birchbox, which was blowing up at the time. So he goes to New York and he calls Brian and Nick and he says, hey man, like, hey guys, like, do you know any guys that can like shoot and edit and do all this stuff, a kind of one-stop shop of skills?
Predators.
Yeah.
Right. Predator.
And they were like, yeah, we've got a guy, his name's Dan Schimpf. And they called up Dan Schimpf and Dan Schimpf was busy. And then they were like, okay, yeah, then Jeff Chan, I guess. And so then he called me and I went in for an interview and he tested me out on a couple of projects. And it was at an ad-based production company. It was focused on branded content and commercials. And I was the very first hire. And we slowly built up our business from there. And my knowledge of advertising was huge during all of that. And like learn the ropes more and more. And then eventually the company has now grown into, I don't know, 20 to 25 full-time employees. I'll still do a job for them every once in a while and have so much love for that place. But got the call one day from Reimer 3.5 years into working at the bindery. And he said...
Right, and you were doing like directing?
Directed. First it was everything. So shooting, directing, and editing. And then as
like branded content.
Branded content, yeah, like lots of beauty tutorials for Birchbox, like they were a retainer client.
You're excellent at coaching a smoky eye.
Dude, I could do a
Do you
neutral
think you
cat
could
eye
do
with
it?
my eyes closed.
You could
Swear to God.
for real?
For real.
Have you done one before?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like,
Yeah, man.
I got steady hands. I can do the whole thing. First you put on your primer and then you do your foundation. I got you, dude.
I guess like filming it is different than actually doing it.
Well, but yeah, you're right. I'm not that good with my hands.
But if you film like 20 of them, you're like, okay, I've got it now.
Yeah. I actually gained a huge amount of respect for like talented makeup artists. It is not easy to do. So from there, I was doing that for a couple of years, but we were building the business, and as we gained more employees and better business or bigger business, I would just keep getting bigger and better looks. Like, okay, you're gonna get a shot at bidding on your first broadcast commercial. And it's like, oh my God.
Sure.
And that stuff was invaluable. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this. Like, directing a commercial is like a hugely valuable thing to do. It connects to everything, television work, film work. It's all the same. Like you're working with a higher power who's telling you how they want it to be. No one's going to have more oversight on you than a client and a creative director of an ad agency. So that was definitely got tougher skin from that experience. And then one day I got a call from Reimer, and he'd been out in LA for a couple of years already, building a relationship.
Wait, can we get the meanwhile?
Meanwhile, so Jeff's first job was his fancy concert TV editing job. My first job was on Bored to Death, which was at the time it was at a non-existent soundstage in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, and
The stages in Brooklyn are pretty grody.
This is 15 years ago. This is before Steiner, any of that kind of stuff. So it was a soundstage next to the New York Municipal Water Treatment Plant.
Yeah.
So it's New York. It's always manufacturing more shit and waste. It's always a construction site. And the AD at the time treated this construction site next door like an old man with a lawnmower. So my job every day, showing up to this like fancy, cool, like this like fresh out of film school, like, oh man, I'm working on a Ted Danson, Jason Schwartzman, and Zach Galifianakis. This is the coolest show in town. And my job is I show up and the AD is like, hey, go next door and take your walkie-talkie and try to get the construction sites, the construction foreman to be quiet and stop using his pile driver.
Here's a stack of Amazon gift cards.
Yeah, exactly. So I would literally go next door every day. This is February in like 2009 or 2010, something like that. And you have to sign a waiver. It's an active construction site. And you would get a hard hat and a vest, and I would walk up and I would just police this area with my fucking walkie-talkie walking around. And like the first day, I'm like, hey guys, could you be a little quieter with your pile driver? And like by day 2, it's just like I walk up and it's just these construction crews just like, hey, Mr. fucking movie maker, there he is again. Oh, hey, and it was, just.
I wish we had those people in LA.
I know. And I spent the entire winter doing this. When it rained, which is always in New York in the winter, the construction crews, it's like a union law in New York that they don't work in the rain. So they would all go into their little portables, but I couldn't go back to set because that was when the construction would stop so they could shoot, and they would need me like making sure that they weren't going to start working again. So I spent enough time, the only shelter was this porta potty. So I spent enough time in a porta potty in Greenpoint, Brooklyn to read the entirety of The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay over the course of a season of Bored to Death. Yeah. And I decided I didn't want to.
Me too, but I don't have an excuse.
Yeah. Exactly. There you go. Yeah. So that was my first job out of film school, and then I decided I didn't want to be on set for that anymore. I moved to the office for the next season. I just finagled my way into emailing whoever was in charge of the
TV show, The Office.
To the production office of Bored to Death season 2.
Okay.
And I was trying to find my way into.
And this is still in New York.
Yeah, it's still in New York. I was creeping on Luke Del Tredici, like trying to get him to trying to figure out exactly, trying to figure out my way onto a writer's room or anything.
Did you ever think of like writing scripts and like showing them to people?
Oh yeah. We were, so all this time we were writing scripts. We're writing Office specs. We're writing How I Met Your Mother specs. We're writing. We're trying our.
How are you scheduling time to write?
Not well. It's a lot of like, I'll work a 14-hour day in the porta potty. Jeff works in the bathroom at Concert TV, and then we come home. We try to write for 2 hours.
Live together at this point.
We live together. We end up yelling at each other, and then I go back to 14 more hours in the porta potty. He goes back to Concert TV. So it was that, and we did that for a couple years.
How many scripts did you guys write? Do you remember? Like dozens?
We wrote one feature and like three or specs and 2 pilots or something like that. Yep. So I don't know. We were at it for a little while, and we couldn't get anyone to read anything. We couldn't really...
Even through Bored to Death, you couldn't like be like, hey, Schwartzman, what do you think?
I don't know if I was too timid at the time. I mean, I remember specifically when we were... So our senior thesis was a weird... bastardized version of the movie The Hangover. It was basically like a teenager goes to a high school party and he gets roofied and he wakes up the next morning. So it's like a murder mystery of like, who did this? And it was, obviously it was meant for someone else and all this kind of stuff. So it was very
and this was
Hangover-esque.
before The Hangover came out.
But it was, so we locked picture and finished all our stuff as Zach Galifianakis, who I was working on Bored to Death at the time, and Todd Phillips were screening it at NYU. So we literally walked out of finishing the sound design on our senior thesis to a screening of that movie. And like I had remembered, I was the talent PA that second part of the season, and I would like walk Zach Galifianakis to set. And I remember pitching him like my student film, and he just had this look in his eye like, cool. And we were also super arrogant. Like that was, I think, the thing is like we thought coming out of school, we thought we had this amazing movie. It was entirely out of focus because I don't know, I have that problem for some reason.
To be fair, I think that though, especially like NYU, USC, Cal Arts, there's plenty of like film schools that like are selling the students and the parents the idea that it's a crop of little geniuses who are all going to make the money back that they invested in this super expensive school immediately. No need to worry. It's a crop of Steven Spielberg's. Everyone's going to be super rich. Don't worry about it, guys.
But aside from that immediately part, it's like kind of true, right?
I mean, it was so.
Oren,
I didn't go to film school, so
Oren didn't go
I'm
to film school.
conjecturing.
We're in his house, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I was an engineer. That's why I have a house.
Oh my God.
Exactly. That's what
why I have a house.
No,
It's a beautiful house, by the way.
No, but like you're naming all your friends,
hates
and
it when I bring up
they're
the
all.
I mean, yeah, you got a house.
they're all successful filmmakers.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they're
I mean-
doing well. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think for me, at 18, well, Jeff and I both, I'll speak for you too, we came out thinking that our movie was, that we were going to turn it into a feature immediately.
21,
and
right?
it was, yeah. Sorry, we're 21. Yeah. And it was very important now in retrospect for me to spend 6 months in a porta potty, literally learning that I was,
right.
you know.
Aren't you the one that adapted The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what my, that's my next job. Yeah.
Well, I also want to point out that, Andrew's dad was a screenwriter, a very successful one at that, and he was our de facto manager. And
interesting.
every
Yeah,
script
yeah.
we wrote went through
Oh
him.
yeah, how
first.
do you not get scripts read if your dad wrote real?
They apparently weren't very good.
Well, also, we didn't. I remember there was like the rule with your dad was like, we get one favor. Like he was like, "Do you want me to use that favor? Does he use the time to use the favor?" I'm like, maybe not now. Maybe
You're
not
like,
now.
do you
right.
think we
That's
should
like-
use the favor?
If
Boys?
I found Aladdin's lamp, I'd like never use it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I just don't think it's worth it.
We
using
eventually
it.
did use the favor. Was Provocero?
We did use the Pharaoh. It was Mark Provocero,
Yeah.
who we now, I mean, he's on
He
Pen 15,
manages the girl, the Pen
Pen and
15.
Maya.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest thing. We were 20 or 22. I remember being in the, maybe I'm getting the ages all wrong, but I was in
We were
the Board of
20.
Death
Yeah.
office,
Okay, yeah.
and he called on Monday.
Wait, Mark Provocero called?
Yeah.
Read our like bad office
spec. That was pretty good.
It was. I think we used our favor to get it in front of him, and he called like first
Kirk
thing,
Purpose.
like it was sent to him or his people on a weekend, and like first thing Monday morning, like on the East Coast, I think I got a call at like 10 o'clock in the morning or something, and it was him being like, "Yeah, no, this is not any good." Hey, I don't know how this came across my desk, but
please
just,
never contact
please
me
do
again.
not.
That's really funny.
Like,
I mean-
please, I don't want anything to do with
We were
this.
bugging out because he repped all the Office people. So he
Sure.
repped Mindy Kaling and BJ Novak and a bunch
and
of
has a small company. You guys could have gone to someone a little more junior, right? Like his name's on the building.
Yeah. Well, I think
We had a problem with arrogance.
I was
Probably still
pretty
do.
sure the script was ready to go.
sure.
I mean, they just pop it in the oven.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that was our favor, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But I also think we both had a little bit of a thing. I won't call it a chip on our shoulder because I think I'm proud of this. Like we weren't like, "Oh, we think your dad can help us with that." Like we never had those conversations really.
Yeah.
I
mean,
think we wanted to carve out the path ourselves for the most part.
Also, there are plenty of kids who have parents in the industry that don't make it
Yeah.
because you have to write a bunch of scripts before you write a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's very
Exactly.
true.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think if your dad is a very successful screenwriter, first of all, you don't have parents like disappointed that you're trying to be a screenwriter, probably. And second
Sure.
of all,
Well, is that true?
No, it's very true. I mean,
He-
my
he was
dad
okay with it.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
our parents were not. I mean, I don't know about you went to film school, but
Yeah, my parents were okay
parents
with
were not like, yes, going to quit engineering and going to like
They're
art,
like,
the arts.
Once you can afford a house, then you can get into filmmaking. We need to see the house first.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah, some truth to that.
Yeah.
So I want to know. So Jeff, you decided to move out here, right?
Why?
What-
Because you moved back here first.
Oh, so I moved first, and I moved chasing Dan and Alex, basically. Well, really, okay. Not really. I'm very much moved out here because my dad was sick. Scarlett and I moved out here. My dad had been sick for 7 or 8 years, but when I moved out here, it was like the kind of like my mom called me one day, like that kind of like phone call that your like blood just runs cold. It was like a week before Thanksgiving, and she called and basically said, "Get in a cab, go to the airport. I'll buy you a ticket on the way." It was like that kind of thing, and I never went back. I mean, I did go back to New York eventually, but I wasn't back in. That was November, and it was June before I, Jeff and Mike packed all my stuff up. Airbnb or not Airbnb, like sublet my apartment, my room. So I moved back and then was kind of in this total haze of my dad passing away. But coming out of it, when I was kind of like Scarlett and I kind of talked, like, well, my family is from LA. guess there's something to be done out here, you know.
And Scarlett is your
Scarlett is
girlfriend?
my girlfriend and longtime partner and person and all those kind of things. But we.
So she was cool with moving to LA.
She was.
Is she in the industry as well?
She is. Yeah, she's a writer and actor, and we moved out here, and around the time when I would say 6 or so months later, I was kind of coming out of this haze and realizing I needed to find work and everything. And Dan and Alex, our friends from school, had kind of won the, film school Hollywood lottery of like they'd made the first season of Next Time on Lonnie for very little money.
Which is a hit web series that's basically like the end of like every reality show where it's like, oh, next time on, this case, the show was called Lonnie. So it was like next time on Lonnie. And then there would be like a montage of teasing the next episode. But it was
The
bonkers.
next time was like 100 times more interesting than what happened on the current episode.
It would be, Alex would be like, oh man, I can't believe how nice that everything turned out. And then next time on Lonnie, and then they get abducted by aliens or something.
It's
like that,
very worth reinvestigating.
Yes, it is
looking
quite
up.
good. Yeah, it is quite good.
But yeah, so they were doing a second season.
And it's
And that
crazy that they went to NYU, because when I saw it, I was like, these guys, they just look like they're from the middle of nowhere. They just got a camera. They just threw this together.
They were before they went to NYU. That's the thing.
Yeah, but they were primed with all this like film knowledge and 4 years of like experimenting and making things, and like they.
Oren, you really put too much of a premium on film school.
I think you are.
It's still like a lot of like getting drunk and
It is.
shouting about movies.
And I will say, I mean,
it's like mostly that.
I was very intimidated by Dan Schimpf in college. Like that, he was the kind of guy that walked in with the goods. Like he had the talent right out of the gate. Like
He's one of the creators of that show.
Yeah, and sophomore year, I remember we were making terrible stuff, and he was coming in with just gold. I mean, he was just one of those guys you just knew was going to become successful. So, film school had nothing to do with it.
And then, so Ben Stiller, right, saw that show?
Yeah, Ben Stiller saw that. He was like, you're moving to Hollywood, kids. We're producing season 2. I had made some short films with them, so I was like, I want to be around. Can I help? And it was Jeremy Wrights, and it was a bunch of the people that we all kind of know, and the kind of the College Humor folks. But we made that second season. They got a pilot off
so
of
what
that.
were you doing on that?
I was producing the second season with them. Most Jeremy and a few of us all just kind of really did all the logistics, basically just the production of getting this thing off the ground. We made the second season, I think, for like $200,000 or $300,000, which at the time was like an astronomical amount of money.
For
it was
a
like
web
more
show.
money than
that was
anyone
going
had
from
ever
$0.
heard. Yeah, exactly.
I just want to pause real quick. Like, so you were producing, like, when you guys were finished film school, were you like, I'm going to be a director and I'm going to like do everything to get my career to that? Or was it always that attitude of, if I'm working in the industry, I'm successful? It doesn't matter if I'm producing or directing or writing or PAing.
For me,
transcoding.
Very specifically, it's been like literally, for me, I think I view it much more agnostically as like, I think this probably sounds more pretentious, but I find myself increasingly just referring to myself as a filmmaker rather than specifying a writer or a director or a producer, because I do kind of see it as that everything is a means to an end. Like, I want to have something out there, and I just need to, whatever the thing is where I can be additive and plug in and help something exist. I mean, I have done.
It's the Predator of modern filmmaking.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
genuinely though. Like, I think there is a reason why. I think it used to be back in the day that things were so specific in terms of skills that you couldn't be an editor and also a DP because like they were so different.
Yeah.
Right. And now
Or
the
people
tools
would
are
be like,
better.
let's get a real editor or let's get a real DP.
Well,
Right.
but no, literally, like the technical aspects of what you had to do. Like, everyone can use a computer, right? We're all trained from childhood now to learn computers, so that means that you can figure out how to edit, and the mistakes you're making aren't cataclysmic.
Right.
Like, you're not literally cutting celluloid anymore,
Right.
and so you can practice and scale up. It's not like any one person was so narrowly focused that they couldn't have learned those other things, but it just took too much time and work and resources, right?
Yeah.
But now we can do that in the same way that writing and directing and producing are kind of all the same thing in a lot of ways.
Well, I've been using that word a lot lately, filmmaker. And even today I was talking to our friend Tim Nakashi, who's been on the show before, about this pitch we made to Echo, who I know you did a show for them. And he's like, well, are you going to do you have any sort of guarantee that you're going to direct it if it gets made? And I was like, no, but like I'm okay with not directing it if my show gets made,
Yeah.
which is maybe something I wouldn't have said like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I know.
I think we're learning that every single day. I mean,
Yeah.
I subscribe to that filmmaker idea as well. I've never heard you say that, but I was listening to it. I was like, yeah, I want to do that too. 'Cause it's true.
Yeah,
I think
it's better than content creator. Right?
Yeah. Or predator for that matter. But yeah, I think I really didn't view myself as a director until I got a job as a director. It's weird.
And when was that? I'm curious.
The commercial job. That's
Gotcha.
what,
Gotcha.
26?
2012. Yeah. Sorry, 2012. Yeah, it was when you started that.
Yeah, so 26. Yeah,
Yeah.
26 years old. I just was so intimidated by other directors in film schools. Like everyone's so good at this, and I just don't know that I am. And then our student film project. Yeah, we were arrogant, but it really messed up my confidence. Because I didn't think it was very good. I did think I was proud of it, but then when it didn't do anything for us, then it really messed with my confidence. I was like, I don't think I'm meant to do this. Like, maybe I'll be a writer. Yeah, I'm a writer. That's what I am. And so then we just wrote a lot of spec scripts together because I sort of talked myself out of being a director, even though I had so much fun doing it. And now I look back on it, I'm like, I always wanted to be a director. I just was too insecure to think of myself as one.
And I think my sort of crisis of confidence around directing lasted much longer. I mean, mine was up until even 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I really wasn't comfortable calling myself a director. I think in film school, I started mostly producing, and it was mostly out of like film school was just lousy with kids with too much money and ideas and zero organizational skills.
Sure.
And I just started seeing all the opportunities where like, oh, well, if I can help this kid, I'm calling them kids, I was their age, but like, organize this and tell the actors when they're supposed to be there at 6 a.m, or what subway to take to get places, or where you buy lunch, or where, like, all that kind of stuff. And then
it's an obvious hole. Like no one is coming to film school and being like, hey, I'm going to be a producer. A couple.
Yeah.
Carrie Galogli from the beginning. But
and then out of school, that kind of developed and became a thing that I was like, I mean, literally until the last year and a half, that's been how I've paid rent, which is why you say like, yeah, you knew me as an AD. I've been a coordinator, a production manager, a line producer. Like I've been all over the map of things because I will kind of go where
like,
the need is for a lot of
those
things.
Problems.
And I think specifically to directing, I think there was a thing of like, I went into film school really knowing that I loved making movies, and I just did what everyone did, like made a bunch of movies with my friends in high school as a form of hanging out. And then when I got to film school, there was such this, I call it the idea of like director with a capital D, which is this very, what I would call this very sort of like masculine, pure visionary kind of thing of like, I storyboard and I know everything and I am the vision and like, I've never felt that way about making movies.
That word vision and all is like,
it is always just
pretty cringy.
Been kind of like, I think there's like this thing where like, there's a lot of people who will view it as like, oh, well, to be a true director or a visionary, it's like, you must be uncompromising. And I'm kind of like, I thought the whole idea was compromise.
Yeah.
I thought the whole idea was
I'm making a
was
movie
a
with my
collaboration
friends.
and getting people together and bringing things.
choosing the best idea.
So it was a long time before I think the actual seeing that there are so many different ways to do it. Actually, weirdly enough, like one of the things that while we were in prep on +1 and I was still having a lot of this crisis that kind of helped pull me out of it. I'm jumping way ahead now, but was the DGA's podcast, which is directors interviewing other directors, very much like this format.
Yeah,
and
only
hearing,
much more famous. Basically.
But
much
just
less
hearing
personal.
people, like
It's
hearing
a little detached.
Yeah,
When
just
they,
hearing
when they
so many
do know
different
each
people,
other, though, it is really good. Like there are a couple special episodes.
Yeah, there really are.
Yeah, so
The rest is just garbage.
yeah.
But I feel like the value for me was just the totality of, which is really just to get to know a lot of directors, which is like there are so many different ways to do it and so many different.
Yeah, what a relief to know, right?
Yeah.
So I want to get to +1, but remind me, you guys had like a breakout short film. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So, Andrew moves to LA 6.5 years ago, seven years ago, and I'm still in New York. And then he gets the idea for Plus One and come out to do it.
I was working as Dan and Alex's assistant at that point.
And
this is after Lonnie?
Yeah, so we did Lonnie. I was the producer on that. They got a pilot. I was like, great, I'll produce your pilot. Comedy Central was like, no, your buddy will not produce your pilot. Your buddy can be your assistant if you want. And I was like, I will take it.
Thanks, guys.
And no, it was great. I mean, honestly, it's a joke, but that was a fantastic. I felt like I was in the motorcycle sidecar of my friends producing this show, and I got to help in every way I possibly could and see.
Were you also doing like the coffee runs? Or?
Yeah, I was like driving them around. I wasn't actually answering their emails, but I was doing all the assistant-y stuff, you know. But also like just kind of taking that in stride and just like keep my head up and watching what was going on and getting to experience secondhand everything that was happening. But while we were doing that, I was kind of like, I knew Jeff had this really cool job in New York directing a ton of commercials, and reached out to him and was like, I think we should, find something to restart all this, or, find our next step or our next
Was it
chapter.
New Year's Eve and were you drunk, and did you call him and be like, hey?
It was actually January 2nd. I actually was drunk.
He was on an island.
I was on an island. Scarlett and I were on this very fancy island with her dad. And I was
her dad also a famous screenwriter?
No, her dad is a famous photographer, but I was hammered on a beach and emailed Jeff, I think, or called. I can't remember.
Yeah, let's say it was a call. I mean, I remember it very, very well, despite not remembering if it was a call or an email. But everything else I remember very well. We hadn't written anything. I certainly hadn't written anything for years. Like that part of me of like wanting to make movies and television.
Yeah, you're just cranking.
Was as good as gone. I mean, I was a commercial director and I loved it.
Was your career? You were like repped at a good production company.
I mean, it was this company, The Bindery, that I was the first employee at. They'd grown to a point where business was flowing in, and I got to take stabs at pitches consistently. I bought into that world, a world I never understood. I could never have imagined I would have ended up in, which was advertising. But
what was your specialty?
Smoky cat eyes.
Well, yeah. I mean, so many
beauty.
I did a lot of beauty
lifestyle
commercials. I mean, I've done beauty commercials for Lancome, Benefit, Birchbox, and I did a lot of stuff with startups. Bonobos. I did stuff with, and
like real people. Kind of montage-y type stuff?
No, yeah, I did a lifestyle stuff, but then started to get more into like comedy stuff because I wanted to do scripted stuff, but it was half and half. Sometimes just real people, testimonial stuff, and sometimes a script that was either handed to me or that I wrote. But it wasn't something that I thought about. It's not like being in New York in your mid-20s, it's all you're thinking about is being in New York in your mid-20s. You're falling in love, you're getting your heart broken, you're hanging out with your friends, you're drunk every night, and if you've got a steady job doing something creative, you're happy. Like I was very happy. But getting a call from Reimer, a drunk call from Reimer on January 2nd, I was back in my house in Ridgewood, New Jersey, with my parents' house, and he's like, I have this idea. Well, first of all, I think I have an opportunity here with Red Hour, and because they've brought up a couple times, like, hey,
which is Ben Stiller's company that produced Next Time on Lonnie,
and big
time in Hollywood, Florida.
Thank you. Yeah.
And he said,
I was like, I know these words, but I don't know the order.
Yeah. And he said, I think I've got an opportunity here. Like, they've brought it up a couple times. Like, hey, do you have a script? And I don't have anything to show them. And I had this idea, and it's about these two friends. And all their friends are getting married, and at the time, all of our friends were starting to get engaged, and so this spoke to me. And he's like, all of our friends are getting married, and it was these two friends, and just think of you and Rachel. I remember you explicitly said that, and Rachel's a very dear friend of ours. He's like, imagine if the two of you, and we were both singles, like imagine if the two of you had to go to like 12 weddings together, and like just like teamed up as each other's plus ones to do what we're about to do. Just like kind of like a fun When Harry Met Sally type of comedy. That's just these two friends like being at each other's throats.
Across these various weddings.
And it like clicked in my head right away. I was like, I can see that. I get the characters. I get the stakes. I get the thesis of it. Like, let's do it. and we outlined and wrote the first draft in 1 month. I mean,
Yeah.
we
Nice.
flew
Yeah.
through it because
Yeah.
we were excited about it. It wasn't like, I think I've got an opportunity, maybe it's like a hybrid comedy or
Wait,
something.
this is a feature? Or
It was a feature, yeah.
Okay. And that's what Red Hour was asking for, a feature script?
They were. I think you have one thing wrong. Nobody was asking me for anything. I was the assistant getting coffee. I was like thinking. I was just thinking like, look,
How do I stop getting coffees?
yeah, exactly.
You know?
And it was
could
a little bit like
I could sneak a script into this Java jacket.
exactly. It was like something like that. But yeah, that we were living bi-coastally. I was working in the writer's room on Big Time. You were directing commercials. We were working at night and on weekends and sending each other drafts over Dropbox.
And I'm assuming you got the idea because it happened to you.
Actually, I got the idea really because Jacob Perlin at the time was working at Paramount, and he was
so
just
you
an
knew
old,
him back then?
He was just an old friend of mine. We had interned in college. We both interned at the Conan show in New York at the same time, and we were the only two like non-crazy people at the internship. So
And,
we kind
and for
of
our
like
listeners that don't know, Jacob has been on the show, and he's all of our managers.
Not my manager, but everybody else's manager.
Matt, who's your manager?
Larry Shapiro.
But no, Jacob at the time was like, listen, man, I think we'd also gotten drunk one night and was like, if you just get me a life cycle movie, like if it's just like a guy who turns 30 and like realizes he never had a bar mitzvah and wants a bar mitzvah, like if you just write like any kind of like life cycle movie, I could sell it at Paramount like that.
Wait, what's
Like
a
that.
light? I've never heard that term.
I don't know.
Did he invent it?
But I wound up literally like I remember being half drunk on this beach and like had like a few things written in my notebook, and one of them was life cycle movie, and I started from there, and that was like where Plus One eventually came from. By the way, I think the bar mitzvah movie, I still encourage Jacob to make the bar mitzvah movie.
Yeah.
But that was 5 years ago now, and that was the first time we wrote a draft of Plus One. And I kept working with Red Hour.
Can I ask you like a logistical question? When you come up with that concept, are you like, that's going to be an expensive movie because we have to have like 12 weddings?
No, actually,
No, we were more concerned tonally with the fact that it was going to be that people would think it was bad because it sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, I remember the Paramount Insurge. Is it Paramount Insurge? Their mandate and what Jacob was speaking to was $1 million life cycle movies. So come up with something that can
Wait,
be
is
done.
that a real? Have you heard that term?
No,
Life cycle?
no.
Yeah. So it was.
What does that mean?
Having kids, getting married, graduating from college,
Oh,
having
a
a bar
cycle
mitzvah.
of life,
Yeah.
not a rewind.
No.
movie.
No.
And so I remember we were life cycle $1 million. So we weren't thinking of it as expensive. We knew a big part of the fun of the concept to us was like navigating around that. Like Reimer and I oftentimes get attracted to stories about characters who are in the background, like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. Like what's their story? So the whole thing about this movie was like, let's make a wedding comedy about the characters in the background. Like,
Right. We don't care about the bride and groom.
It's not the big reception. It's not seeing a bride in a wedding dress running
the
around.
rental cars and the weird hotels and all that.
It's
kind of stuff.
4 weddings and a funeral, right? Like
But
same
it
thing.
meets before sunset. What's that? What it's called?
You're
Kind of
you're choosing very favorable movies.
Sure.
To compare this
Great-
to,
great
which is
films.
great. You know,
But yeah, that was so we wanted to navigate around the budget thing. But to Reimer's point, we could just see the bad version in our heads. Either
I think I pitched on the bad version. I think they made it.
the bad versions have made a lot of times.
there's a lot of those.
There's a lot of those, and we were very aware of that when we started writing this script.
Yeah,
you know.
for sure. And so we really wanted to just make something in our voice and find a way to, I mean, at the time people were calling the romantic comedy dead a lot, and we were still like, let's do one. Love to do one. And but that also pushed us to try to figure out ways to add a fresh new voice to it or subvert the genre in some way. And that led us into some bad storytelling choices because anytime you're writing against the current and you're like, no one's ever done this before, you're probably doing it wrong. And we found that out once we got it.
Can you give us some for instances?
Absolutely. I'll just be spoilery here is originally the main characters did not get together at the end of the movie. That was something we really specifically
We were
Reimer-
certain of from day 2
we were like, they are not going to get together at the end. That's the bad version of this movie. You expect them to get together. You see the poster, you see the trailer, you're going to think they get together at the end. Well, guess what? That's not how real life works. They're not going to get together at the end.
And then no one's happy at the end of the movie.
What's the movie? There is the Julia Roberts.
My Best Friend's Wedding.
Yeah. They don't get together, right?
They don't get together. Well, so no matter what, you're falling into some cliche.
But you want it to feel gratifying. Really, the answer is you want the audience to believe they're not going to get together.
Right.
The other Julia Roberts movie, Pretty Woman, originally they did not end up together, and every test screening was like 0.
Yeah.
And then they reshot the ending.
Yeah. You want that. If a good romantic comedy makes you want those people to be together. So when that doesn't happen, your success is going to lead to disappointment.
Right.
That's a weird paradox, right? So, and we didn't even realize it until 2 weeks before production when we did this is jumping ahead, but Maya Erskine, who played the lead lead character,
who's one of the leads and creators of Pen 15.
That's
also.
right, and she's wonderful. She's just a dynamite actress, and so
probably
talented.
my favorite part of Wine Country. You guys have seen that?
Sure.
Yes, we have. We did the first table read with just the two of us, me and Andrew, and Jack Quaid and Maya Erskine, who are the 2 stars. And we finished the table read, and there's this kind of silence. We knew something was wrong because she's such a force of nature in the movie, and then they break up, and then you just don't see her again. And in this case, we just didn't hear her voice for the last 18 minutes.
Yeah, so you're just hearing her quietly, like
just turning pages,
just like nodding along. Like, oh,
and
was that their first time reading it?
Second time. We did a full table read, but then this was the first one where it's just the 4 of us, and there's just kind of like this quiet, and we finished. We're like, that was great, guys. That was great. And she's like, kind of lost in thought. And she goes, I have a question. And we're like, yeah, anything. She goes, so my arc is that my boyfriend breaks up with me. I'm depressed about it. I fall in love with my best friend. We start dating. He breaks up with me, and I get back together with my ex. And we were like, yeah. She was like, okay, I'm just asking.
Which, for the record, is like the best way an actor can like give a note that effectively boils down to like,
there is no arc.
I'm not, well, that's the real, that's the smart version of it. The common version is like, I should be in it more, which I've heard so many times.
Yeah.
It's like so brutal. So that, kudos to her, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a thoughtful, because an actor's job, especially at a table read, but always, is just to be mindful of, the arc of their character, right? So,
finding like the growth and the truthfulness.
Yeah, she's keeping tabs on her character in a way that no one else ever will, right? To your best of your abilities, you're keeping an eye out for it, but she's living it in a way that we're not, right?
Absolutely. And we were 2 weeks away from shooting, and we wrote it. The ending, we tried to figure it out. We didn't have it figured out until mid-production, and we came up with an ending.
Wait, this is like the third act, like the last 20 minutes of the movie?
It's the last 5 minutes of the movie. Yeah, we wrote it, and we sent the pages to Maya. She called us. She said, I just cried. You guys got it. Then we
were in production for like 3 weeks where Jeremy and JP and Lisa and our whole production team just had like ending to be written by Jeff and Reimer. Whenever they get around to it, like
We're not trying to schedule a movie or anything.
Yeah.
Wait, so did you have like a big third act set piece that you knew you were going to have regardless of what the last 5 pages are going to be?
I wouldn't call it a set piece, but yeah, there's a final wedding, and but we would get together on the weekends and try to figure out what that ending was, knowing that she was going to come back.
You guys are making me so nervous. I know that it's a happy ending, and it's still
yeah. Well, it was terrifying. It was like, okay, maybe he's on his couch and she knocks on the door. No, that doesn't. Maybe they meet at a coffee shop and they just like sit down for coffee. No, that's not right. And just kept trying to figure out, because we knew we really wanted to. It's a movie about weddings, and we were like, how do we incorporate weddings into this final thing? And then we solved it, and we were like, okay, yeah, it's. We got it, and it involves a location we already had, so we were able to bring that to our line producer Jeremy and say, like, we got it. Here are the pages. The actors are stoked. This is where we're gonna do it. And he was like, great. I'll give you guys 2 hours on that morning, and you shoot the ending.
Wow,
that is so good. Can you give us any other like thoughts or tips or tricks in terms of like entering your first feature? What you guys would have done differently, or what worked great?
Well, can we ask real quick how you guys got it greenlit and who paid for it?
Yeah.
So we totally missed your question about the short film, but this is actually where it comes into
great.
play.
Perfect.
We were ready to go with our movie. We write the script in a month. We get an actress attached, and
And did you know
Was
her?
this Maya at this point?
No. It
Okay.
was
someone else.
Should we say no? Right?
I don't
Maybe not.
think
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Is it someone we would have heard
I
of?
don't think it was
Yes.
just yes. It was. We were very excited, and then we got financing, and it was like the dream come true. I mean,
Based on the actress.
yes and no. It was weird because she eventually dropped out to do a different rom-com, and then we got 2 other actors, and then we got financing. And I
Wait, so did the financing go away in between her leaving?
Yeah, our financing we'll talk about.
well, the financing was on and off. It was like a faucet that was like broken, and it was like sometimes it would turn on, sometimes it would turn
But
off.
with the same company the whole time?
No, different
interesting.
financiers, and but eventually we get it all sorted. We have
And you're attached as co-directors, like from day one.
Correct.
Yep.
And that was sort of the crazy thing is like we got this script, we got it to Debbie Liebling and Jackie Cohen at Red Hour. They liked it. They really wanted to produce it. They were, for whatever reason, excited about us as directors. And
Did you show them anything you had directed before?
Nope.
I literally don't think we did.
Nope.
I don't think anybody had seen
nothing.
anything. They'd not seen our weird student film. They had
They'd
not seen
nothing.
But
And
they
we hadn't
clearly
made
knew
any-
that Andrew knew how to produce a
I had
TV
worked
show.
with them for several years, but like I had not directed a feature or anything.
Yeah.
But
Which is
they would send us on meetings with actors, and we did okay with a couple
Yeah.
of them. Like we
Yeah.
would with like people who could open a movie, we would sit and just talk them into.
Yeah.
Did you
working on
show
this
them
movie with us.
pictures or inspiration or mood
nope,
boards?
it
or-
was
Nope,
literally
just go to like
you
lunch.
didn't like have like an iPod playlist that you're like, listen to this
Nope.
as we paint the picture.
It was just these 2-hour-long lunches where you just
With
picture
with
idea.
famous people.
yeah.
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 And which was surreal because I was, get back on a plane and I would fly out each time we had one of these meetings, take the
Oh,
meeting,
man.
and then fly back to New York.
How Hollywood did you feel?
It felt very Hollywood.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So, I would fly in, take these actor meetings, fly back, and it felt amazing. I was like, holy
But you were
shit.
paying for it yourself.
Yeah. And eventually get our 2 actors attached that we were excited about, got financing. I walk into work and sit down with Greg Beecham, who started the bindery, and said like, my time here as a full-time employee is over. But, he came on as a producer of the film too, and we had a tearful goodbye. And
Yeah.
I moved,
What was he bringing as a producer to the film?
a ton. I mean, he was not only was he our first investor, he was the first person that showed that there was money into the project. He was also a huge advocate for us as directors and could speak to certainly my
How
experience.
special, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
And so Red Hour isn't like, hey, we're going to put all the money in.
No, Red Hour was not. At no point was Red Hour the money. They weren't ever purporting to be. They were just like, look, we'll be the energy and the wind and the sails and
And the
go
connection.
forth and-
We'll set up all these actor meetings.
Yeah.
yeah.
exactly.
Oh, Red Hour's making this movie. You Google Red Hour.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
But at this point, so Jeff moves out here.
Wait, do you ever meet with Ben Stiller to pitch in the movie or anything?
We did
That's a funny story, but yeah.
Jeff moves out here. We're a couple weeks from production, and our financier, we get a bad phone call. Our financier's pulled out. Our financier was Anthony Scaramucci of
No way.
of
The Scooch? The
the
Smooch?
Mooch?
The Mooch?
The Mooch.
Smooch.
Yeah, at that
like
time
the
he was
Smooch.
a weird Wall Street guy who was trying to get into
He's probably buddies with
film financing.
Manukin or something.
I'm sure he was.
Hadouken.
Yeah. So we had all of the things, and it was sort of funny. To this point, it was like everyone we'd said like, oh, we wrote a script and we're like trying to make a movie. Everyone was kind of like, fuck you guys. Like that's really fast to like you get something. Like you get actors, you
I'm
get
trying to
producers,
remember,
you get
because
like
we had coffee together right before you were gonna start shooting.
yeah, and then. That was literally right before probably the Christmas break. It would have been like 2015.
Yeah.
And we got a phone call right, like literally the Friday before everyone goes away for break.
Wait, so this is 2015.
2015.
4 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
movie
so,
is out in
So that's
theaters
what I'm
now.
saying is like literally we're talking about 2014, like January 2nd is me calling Jeff saying, Jacob Perlin gave me this idea for a life cycle movie. We start writing the movie. By, end of 2015, we have already cycled through a few actors, found financing, are about like far into prep. Have half of our crew.
Jeff has quit his job.
Jeff has
Yes,
quit his job.
yeah.
We have all of our locations scouted.
And
We're
did
supposed
Red
to
Hour
start
help you
shooting-
find that financing?
Yes.
Yes.
We're supposed to. They were repped by WME either at the time or still. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was WME basically was the connection.
And
to
they know the
Scaramucci.
smooch. Yeah.
But yeah, we were supposed to start shooting in like February of 2016, and the bottom completely fell out. Scaramucci found a better purpose for his film fund to go into politics instead, and so we had to pay tens of thousands of dollars out of pocket to our crew that had been working for like 2 months.
Wait, what do you mean working? Like
They had
prepping?
been like we'd
We've been
prepped, we
scouting. We've been
booked locations, we'd like hired the whole cast at this point. It wasn't just like 2 attached actors. It was like
50
we had
Like
like
everybody's-
everybody.
Wait, but no one had worked yet.
All of
crew
our
worked
crew that had prepped. So like we had a production designer, we had a casting director, we had
So you give them all kill fees
Yeah.
correct.
But out of pocket.
Yeah.
Correct.
out of
Yeah.
your
remember-
own pocket.
Out of our own pockets.
We called WME and asked them if they would subsidize it, and they laughed in our faces.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, well,
it was amazing.
Yeah. So that sucked.
Wait, so you started working with $0 in the bank account.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was very smart. You know.
Well, you're having those calls every single day where you're like, hey, so when's that money going to come in? They're like, it's coming. It's coming,
Right,
it's coming.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, I've
And
been
there's
there.
a moment where your line producer is like, hey, if we don't start doing this stuff, we're not going to actually
for sure.
get to make a movie. So you just kind of like
sure.
Yep.
make those phone calls.
Exactly.
So the movie completely exploded over the holidays, and our producers all tried to save it. Everyone worked really hard to try to salvage it, find other financing. It didn't happen. We had to let the cast go. We had to let kind of everyone go, and then we spent a solid year to year and a half kind of, penance for our
Yeah.
And were you directing commercials in LA at the time?
yeah.
I was still working with the bindery, so they would,
They just
the
repped
bat-
you as an LA director.
the bat phone would ring, and often at times I would fly back to New York and do a job and then come back. So,
Yeah, there's nothing better than being an LA director. They fly around,
Oh, it's the
right?
best.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're paying
you
rent
get more
in
work
LA
that way.
I'm paying rent in LA. I'm
Yeah.
living in a 1-bedroom in Echo Park attached to a skate park, so to listen to the crazy kids. So the movie's dead for a year. Our reps are like, it's time to let it go. You got dumped. You got to stop bringing it up.
How'd you get your reps are repping you as a writer-director duo?
Yeah, so Jacob Perlin has been our manager. I was his buddy when he was at Paramount. I would creep onto the lot and hang out with him, and when he moved over to Anonymous, I don't think I'm blowing up his spot to say that he didn't exactly feel like he knew what he was doing quite yet, and he was like, "Well, you're my first client, and that whoever that guy is that hangs around out with you all the time."
Yeah,
bring him on too.
I really got grandfathered into having a manager. I didn't know how to do anything.
To be fair, you had a real commercial directing career at the
Yeah,
time,
sure.
and
I did not.
Anonymous has like
Right,
a
yeah, it did make sense.
long
Yeah.
history with that.
Yeah.
That's not crazy.
Yeah, so that was that. And then in working with Jacob for a while, we met with Verve, and they are awesome. And we
Oh, you
started
guys are
working
at
with
Verve?
them. We're at Verve,
Oh,
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So we actually have agents, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
really
well done.
cool in this moment.
Yeah, but then the big moment was we had 2 bindery commercials land in LA. One that was going to shoot on a Wednesday and a Thursday, and one that was going to shoot on the Monday and Tuesday following the weekend. And we got a great rig for it, great camera package. And
Jeff was directing both of them. I was producing them.
I was directing the Wednesday, Thursday one, not the next one. But I was pretty nervous about it because it was like a short film for the Hollywood Reporter, and we got like anamorphic lenses. And it was a thing, and I was just remember being really nervous about it. And the Saturday before the shoot,
No, Monday.
was it really Monday?
Yeah, it was Monday.
Really?
Yeah, we had one day. I really.
Oh my god! The Monday before the Wednesday shoot, we went to see the new Ghostbusters movie at the Vista, and I'm just trying to blow off some steam, and I'm sitting there with like my popcorn, and Reimer comes walking up and like sits down with his big Coca-Cola or whatever, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm gonna say something to you. Like, don't get stressed out." And I was like, "I'm already. You just stressed me out. What is it?" And he goes, "We've got all this gear straddling a weekend. We're not gonna be returning it between the 2 shoots. What if we like shot a short film over the weekend?" And I was like, "When are we gonna write that short film?" He was like, tomorrow.
This is after your movie blew up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is a year later. This
Yeah,
is a year later.
You guys have come out of the darkness, and you're like,
Yeah. And
No, we're still in the dark.
yeah,
Still,
sure.
we're pretty
This is like your
depressed.
midlife crisis,
Yeah.
basically.
And
Yeah,
he just, and remember, it was right before the movie started. He's just like, we'll write it tomorrow. And I was like, okay, let me think about it. And so the movie starts, and I'm just like thinking about the short film I have to shoot on Wednesday and Thursday. I'm like, you're cramming in another short film, and
You called me the next morning and you said, if we're going to do a short film, the only way we can do it is if it's a oneer, because we're going to ask all our friends to come be crew voluntarily between being a crew on 2 commercials. We can't do like a 35 setup day and try to jam it in and try to get them to work for free. We need to do something that has like bare minimum crew, like a focus puller and a camera person, and we'll pre-light it,
Yeah.
And so
Did you have like a stage or something?
no, we used our friend's house. So we were like, okay, so the idea has to be a oneer,
yep.
and we'll do it. And if it works, it works. And
Do you
if it
think a
doesn't, it
oneer
doesn't.
takes longer than
No,
like
I mean,
coverage?
Well, what it did was, it took longer. But what we found was, so the movie we wound up making was something we wound up calling Pre-Game. It was a movie that took place of a bunch of friends at a New Year's Eve party. But essentially, we came up with that sort of simple idea and wrote a rough draft of it. But then what we did was just called all of our friends together that are actors and that we wanted to work with, and we're like, hey, could you come over on Saturday and we'll read this and we'll put it on its feet and we'll see how it feels. And for the most part, it felt like crap at first, and we kind of finessed everything and figured out like what would be interesting for little conflicts and scenes.
And the little thing we did just to make ourselves feel a little bit better was we wrote the character from Plus One, Alice, into Pregame, and we renamed her Alicia. But
Very clever.
everything else was the same. She's drunk. She's not over her ex, Nate. Her friends have to deal with her. And we're like, look, we get to do some version of Plus One of our favorite characters from that movie. We get to do that. And let's cast our friend Maya Erskine to play her, which is crazy because she would eventually go on to play Alice, which we could never have predicted in that moment. But
Oh, interesting.
we were like, we
Yeah.
know she can play this role. It'd be so fun. And so she played Alicia, as well as all of our friends who ended up being in Plus One are also in Pregame. And we did that first commercial on the Wednesday and Thursday. On the Friday, we woke up, we went to our friend Aaron Schroeder's house, we pre-lit it, and we sat in a circle with
Just
our...
the two of you were like lighting everything?
No,
our DP,
our cinematographer, yeah,
Guy Godfrey, who shot those 2 commercials, as well as he would go on to shoot Plus One. So he...
Of all the people to ask to work for free, DPs are the easiest.
Right.
Because like
especially
they make
when
great
you've
money.
given them a job.
Yeah,
like,
you've
before
got.
and after.
They're fine. They're
Yeah,
fine.
and
yeah.
he was.
Yeah.
But we all sat in a circle, all the actors and me and Reimer, and we read the script, and we just took ideas from
How
it.
long was the script?
9 pages?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 9 pages for a 4.5 minute short.
And how many characters?
Wait,
7? You
Eight.
said 9
Eight.
pages for a 4.5 minute short?
9 pages, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's a oneer, so it's the
just
dialogue
running
kind of
fast.
moves. You
Yeah.
know, you don't have
Yeah.
an establishing shot or
Right.
cutting somewhere. It's just like it just goes.
Yeah.
So, and our friends are so wonderfully. Our actor friends are so wonderfully talented that we were.
It's a real dumb question, but where do you have all these actor friends from?
And the NYU
School,
world, yeah.
you know, some from UCB, just they're all just like people we hang out with. I mean, I don't know,
This blob of people has just grown and grown and grown.
yeah,
It's-
and a lot of them are just, all of us, you know, coming up have always just been hungry and trying to work and supporting each other through failure and all kind. I mean,
But you know that
just-
they're like all good actors.
Yeah,
They're
for
not
sure.
just your friends.
yeah. Well, I mean, they're all people that we are excited about and feel like we don't get to work with enough. You know.
And so, you know, we sat in a circle and just talked through it, and people gave ideas, and we would reshape the script, and then we very quickly put it on its feet. And with Guy, the DP, walking around pretending to be the camera, and he would stop and place him like, oh, that can't happen because that line is 180 degrees behind me and I can't get the camera around. So we'd be like, oh, you lose that line, you say this, and then the camera can keep rotating. And it was super fun to do. And the Saturday.
And was there anyone that was giving notes and you're like, no, it's not going to be, no one's going to kill someone. No one's going to, like, anyone giving crazy notes that you had to, like,
not at
cancel?
all. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we all kind of knew what we were trying
Yeah.
to do with this little like one act play kind of thing.
It felt more like film school in a way, where it wasn't like crazy ideas like that, but there were moments where someone would just raise their hand and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry. It seems like everyone's got a pretty clear objective, but I don't really know what mine is."
Right.
Right. Okay, yours is this, and you'd be like, "Okay, cool." But then
hilarious.
on the Saturday afternoon, we went back. guy put the camera on. We did a final read through, then we started blocking it and with the camera, and then once the sun went down, we started shooting right away, 8 p.m. and we had to wrap at 11:30, and we did.
Oh, nice.
How many takes?
I think it was 16, maybe 9 full lengths.
takes, yeah.
And we used the final one.
Yeah,
awesome. We knew we were like, that's it, wrap it, call it, and
Yeah.
And so I mean, you can talk about what happened after that, but
We made another one a couple months later.
well, yeah.
What's the
That's the thing that ended up leading to.
Oh, sure.
Vimeo staff pick, film festival sort of situation.
we did get technically to one film festival. We were at Santa Barbara. That was cool.
Oh, that's
which
a
I
great
call
festival.
it. I call it the Sundance of Santa Barbara.
Yeah, but no, we got we submitted to everything and we got into Santa Barbara. No shade on Santa Barbara.
Which
we
is
got rejected from
legitimately-
literally everything.
That's a
so
very
fun.
good festival.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
So that's a funny one. It's funny how like you can get rejected from so many, and you're like,
I'm
this
increasingly
one?
I'm
Like,
increasingly
what's the deal?
seeing that the festival thing is a weird racket and that it isn't actually like
The
reflective
kingmakers,
of people.
like-
Yeah.
I just see so many people who make really great stuff and then get really disheartened because they don't get into stuff. And
It's because festivals have, I mean, I'm saying this with zero authority, but they have like an agenda and what type of movie they want to program.
Yeah.
And if your movie isn't that type of movie, then they won't program it.
Exactly.
and there's just like so much out there that they rely on other indicators too.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
oh, have I heard about this movie? Have I heard of someone in this movie? All of those things, you know.
But that short pregame would get us a Vimeo staff pick, and the next one, both pregame and post party, the follow up we made.
Did you guys know anyone at Vimeo? How did you submit to?
I think Greg does and did.
Someone knew them and sent it over, and they Laura Turner Garrison is her name, and she watched it and she contacted us and was like, I want to staff pick these and potentially develop it as a series with you guys.
Yeah.
Back when Vimeo made original content. Yeah.
right.
The high maintenance days.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it exploded.
So then that exploded too, but the good thing that came out of it was a couple executives at a company called Studio 71 saw the shorts and called a general meeting with us, and they sent over a script for a Great Gatsby
High school,
sort of like She's the Man with 12th Night. It was going to be great.
and they're going
Gatsby.
to cast it with a bunch of YouTubers, and we were going in with a take to direct it.
Yep. Went in, sat down, like, okay, here's how we would do this script. And they're like, no. That doesn't exist anymore.
Our boss got fired.
Great.
The Great Gatsby in high school
I'm
doesn't
so
exist
glad
anymore.
we spent 7 hours coming up with a take for that. And
Oh, man.
and they're like, what else is going on with you guys? And we just talked about other stuff, and then eventually we're like, all right, great meeting you guys. And as we were getting up, Reimer was like, wait, actually, we do have this one other thing that's like dead, but we'll just tell you about it, and pitch plus one sort of in like 10 sentences. And they're like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Can you send us this? Is there a script? And we're like, yeah. Like, can you send it to us? And I'm like, yeah. They sent the script, and 8 days later, we got a phone call from Jacob Perlin. And he was like, how much money do you need for plus one? And we're like, we told him, and he was like, because Studio 71's interested. And we're like, what? And
Wait, how many digits was the number that you told him? 7?
6.
Seven digits. Oh, 6. We did say 6 digits. Yeah, 6 digits. And a week later, I remember I got a knock on my door, and it was Reimer, and I answered the door, and he was FaceTiming me. So I like opened the door, and there's just like a phone in my face, and he was FaceTiming me with Jacob. But I couldn't see Jacob's face because he was pointing the camera at me. And I was like, "What's going on?" And Reimer was like, "Jacob, tell him." And Jacob was like, "Studio 71 is gonna close the financing on plus one. You've done it." And we were like, "What?" I screamed, we cried. I mean, it was every single emotion.
Yeah.
Just when we'd accepted that it was dead forever, it came back. And 4 months later, we were filming it.
Whoa, rock and roll, guys.
And where did you film it?
Around here, all around LA.
And how long ago was that?
Fall of 2017.
Yeah, October, November 2017.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so we know it premiered at Tribeca. Everyone loves it. You made Maya Erskine into a star.
I
made
think Maya
herself into
Erskine
a
is
star.
plenty for that. I don't think
And so what's next? What is that? What is premiering a film at Tribeca and having like all this history are people asking you for what your next script is, or do you get to go pitch on other people's scripts?
We're kind of doing both. We're working on another feature. We're pitching takes on all kinds of different things. We're working on a TV. Some of the things that we started developing in the Scaramucci years, we are picking back up and working on. So yeah, we're working and trying to. I think we've now come to a realization that all of this is a weird horse race that's completely unpredictable. So we're trying to set as many things off, knowing that plenty of them will break legs and take 5 years to get to any sort of meaningful destination.
Yeah.
Wait, in the horse race analogy, you own all the horses.
He's buying more. They're buying more horses.
You buy all the horses. They're all very cheap, inexpensive horses.
And you hope that just one of them crosses the finish line.
Yeah.
If that happens, then
it's an animal cruelty analogy for ideas.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I feel like that's it. How to be a filmmaker 101. Well, cool. Should we move on to unpaid endorsements?
I suppose we should.
Let's do it.
Unpaid endorsements.
Do you guys have anything?
My unpaid endorsement
Reimer's
is
so ready.
So I'm so hot on Chernobyl. We go into so many generals these days talking about romantic comedies, and I just try to divert the conversation to Chernobyl as fast as possible. It's the greatest show. I have nothing to do with it. I just think it's fantastic. I am so impressed with the filmmaking and the writing. I also find that I'm the one that takes up weird mantles on shows and movies like this that nobody that I know is watching. So yeah, everyone that listens to this podcast, I assume plenty of people are already watching Chernobyl. I hope, but
yeah, we've even gotten a couple endorsements of it.
Oh, there you go!
Podcast.
Wow,
this might be the first triple.
Oh, that's good.
I want to endorse my favorite movie of last year. It's a Korean film called Burning. It's on Netflix now. Reimer's heard me talk about this movie a lot. It stars Steven Yeun from The Walking Dead, as well as a couple incredible Korean actors. And it's just a really complicated, difficult to understand movie in a way that I really like. It really challenges your expectations of a movie. It does not operate in 3 acts. It operates in a weird, meandering, poetic kind of way, but the performances are so wonderful, and it's just wrought with tension the whole time. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes long, but it's just wonderful. I'm really into showing all sides of Asians, and I think Koreans, the South Koreans, are doing that best right now. They're really doing some great characters over there, and Steven Yeun just plays this sociopath in it, and I'm really into that. So yeah, watch Burning.
I really wanted you to pitch La La Land 3 years later.
I also love La La Land, guys.
So does Oren. That's perfect.
I really love La La Land.
A 3-year late unpaid
Did
endorsement.
you just watch it?
No.
You've seen it 100
I wonder
times.
if
Love
the
La La Land.
artist holds up, because that's a movie I loved when I saw.
And I haven't seen it again since.
Yeah.
I bet no.
That dog though.
Yeah.
The dog is good. That's true.
You got
Yeah. So I've got a little bit of a 2-parter. Do you guys know Last Remaining Seats?
No.
It's a screening series put on by the Los Angeles Conservancy, where they do classic movie screenings downtown. So the Orpheum, the $1 Million Theater, kind of those old movie palace theaters that they do summer screenings for. And it's always really great. It's at the Orpheum, they have a organ player come out and do an incredible live show as you're sitting down, you're having your popcorn and stuff. So that in general, Last Remaining Seats is an awesome time. But I went and saw Hitchcock's Rebecca this weekend, and
Great movie.
I lump a lot of those kind of middle era black and white single word Hitchcock movies together. So Spellbound and Rebecca and
Notorious.
Notorious. Yeah, they all kind of get lumped together. Rebecca is so bonkers.
Only movie won Best Picture for, right?
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
I met my wife in the Hitchcock class, and I wasn't paying attention at all. so there you go. It worked out for me. It's okay. But yeah, so Rebecca is this weird mix of tones. It's pretty funny and broad up top. There's a lot of comic relief characters, and then it goes into this weird psychological like torture, and then it flips the script again and becomes kind of like a courtroom procedural, all in one movie. It's pretty tight.
Law and Order already did it.
Yeah, I guess so. So it's a real treat, and also there's like a ton of like short oneers in it where you'll like start on, you know, some detail of the scene, right, and then pull into a close, and then into to a two, and then into a wide, and then a crossfade out. That's a lot of the scene work, and so it's
and it feels natural.
Feels totally natural. You know, like look. Nowadays, I think we'd like throw a little bit of like a stabilization on some of those moves here and there, but like you have to really be paying attention to catch when they're doing it.
Yeah, warp stabilizer, Hitch. Come on.
Come on. bro.
So, do you guys know Digg, D-I-G-G? They like curate articles.
Like as in dig.com?
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
like back in the day, it used to be like before Reddit was a huge thing.
It was like the back page of the internet.
Yeah.
But so I get an email from them every day with interesting articles. And on Mondays, they have this segment called Good Question, where they just take all the best like advice questions, like Dear Abby type questions of last week. And they're so good. And I kind of feel like I learn a lot about etiquette and everything from there. But if you just Google like Digg, D-I-G-G space good space question, you'll find like a bunch of them. But like today's was... like the first question they had is, why is my former boss asking me to kick him in the crotch? And it's like this woman who she just works like in an regular office, but her boss is like really good at like martial arts, and he like keeps offering to teach her self-defense, and he's married, and she always goes to his house, and he like does exercises with her, and they swim laps, and then he like has her kick him in the crotch as hard as she can to see how much pain he can handle. What? And she's like, but there's never anything sexual about it. Like, what should I do? Should I stop? He offered to pay me like $150 if I can make him like, if I can give him pain, but he said he'd give me $20, or I have to pay him $20 if I don't do it. Like, I kind of need the money. Should I do it? And what would you think the advice would be?
That 100% is some kinky shit that you're just like...
So that's what I would think. And the advice, it's from this guy, I think it's like Dan, the advice columnist is Dan Savage. And he says basically, like, if you need the money, then ask him if he'll give you $250.
Oh my God.
And just say, these are the limits. Like, it's not like, just put it all out there. Like, I'll kick you in the nuts if that's like what you want. I don't mind doing it. She said she like kind of enjoys doing it. So he's like, yeah, go for it.
Well, there you go.
Which is so weird, because usually the advice all boils down to one of two things. One is talk about your feelings. But two, it's as long as you're not trying to tell people what they should do with their life. And otherwise, like, there's one question where it was like, when we stand on our porch on our second floor, we can see our neighbor's yard, and it's always filled with like a ton of dog poop. And it just is an ugly view. And is it weird if I ask my neighbor, who I don't know very well, to pick up the dog puke because it ruins our view? And the advice was like, yeah, that's weird. It's their yard. Totally you don't have they don't have to pick up their dog.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. I just like I've been like trying to. I mean, this is not great stuff to just share with the world, but I've been trying to find the show to pitch based on these articles, because they're just like, every question is gold, and it's all about relationships, and it's all about etiquette, and it's all about like workplace, like relatable things. So I love it. Dig, good question.
That's pretty good, man. Awesome. Thanks. Well, guys, where can listeners find out more about you?
Well, Plus One is now out on iTunes and Amazon and VOD and all that stuff. So
and it's PLUS, right? Not the plus sign.
Yes, correct. PLUS.
And ONE, right? Not the one.
That's right. Yes. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah. Type out Plus One, and you can see that on anywhere you rent movies online or buy movies online. And then we also have the short films are on my Vimeo page, Jeff Chan.
And we'll have all of that stuff in the show notes as well. For
great.
Sure.
Do you guys have like a Chromeo.com or whatever your combined name is?
Not yet, but we
don't.
Let's get that going.
Trimer.
We have a
Chan Noble
domain name to be purchased.
Chan Noble.
Yeah, I like Chan Noble.
It's Jeff Chan and his
Reimer's
favorite TV show.
Exactly.
A dystopian South Korean radiation star.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you guys tweet or anything?
At the real Jeff Chan for me. And this guy
I'm at his rhyme time, but I'm impossible on the internet.
He doesn't.
Good luck to
He doesn't.
anybody.
He's got hundreds of people pending friend requests right now. He does not. Says no to them all. I'm sort of our marketing guy.
Yeah,
I
for
handle
sure.
all of our social
Right.
media.
I just
Your
watch
advertising
Chernobyl
background.
and yell about it to strangers.
Cool. Well, you can find out more about our podcast at justshootitpod.com and everything we talked about today. You can email us, justshootitpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're on all social media at justshootitpod, and I'm on Instagram at okaplan.
And I'm at Mr. Madenlow. This episode was produced by Madeline Rosewatt, edited by Jay McAuliffe, and our webmaster is Ewan Williams. The music you're listening to right now is by the artist Jahzzar in the Free Music Archive.
Leave us an iTunes review. Thanks.
Bye.